Welcome to Panthers on the Plus. I'm sports director at WCNC Charlotte, Nick Carboni. And again, here on Monday afternoon and evening, we find ourselves asking this question: who are these Carolina Panthers? Now, 7 days ago, we were asking who are they because they somehow dropped that game to the Saints. A week later, who is this team? They come back from double digits down, beat the Atlanta Falcons in a record-setting performance from none other than Bryce Young, as we continue to ask, who the heck is Bryce Young? So to try to get some answers on all this, we're going to bring somebody, and this is, I didn't time it out this way, but this is the perfect day for Sharon Thorsland to be with us, WBT sports reporter and Panthers radio sideline reporter, because Sharon, I've got to imagine it was just an incredible experience to be on the sidelines of a game like that yesterday afternoon in Atlanta.
Oh my gosh, it was just fabulous. I mean, it didn't start out so good, so I was like, oh no, we started out in that hole, and Bijan Robinson was just running all over us, and Drake London was having his way. But then you could tell when they went into halftime, they sort of had this mentality and this just calmness about them right before when they had scored going into the half. And
Yep.
Bryce Young, he told everybody when they were going into halftime, he was like, we got this. We got a lot of time left. There's a lot of football left in this game. We just are going to chip away. We're going to come out. We got the ball. When we come back out, we're going to score and go from there. And that's exactly what they did. But the way that it transpired and how everything was just so back and forth in the second half, the defense just put the clamps on Bijan and on Drake London, and then Bryce. Oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. I don't know if a lot of people saw that coming, to be able to break the franchise record for passing yards when just, the past 3 weeks combined, it didn't even break 400 combined. So, I mean, that was just an unbelievable performance by him yesterday, especially with that ankle injury. It was just, it was really exciting day to be on the sidelines.
I want to start towards the end of regulation, actually, because that comeback was almost like a victory by 1,000 paper cuts. It just seemed to take forever for them to move the ball down there, and finally they just start, busting these big plays. Was there a moment where you felt like, okay, it's in their hands now, this is their game to win?
It certainly seemed like that when the defense was able to keep coming out and getting stops, and when the receivers, I mean, what an incredible game. Obviously not just Bryce, because his receivers had to play their part, but Xavier Legette really stepped up and got some key yards after the catch. Jalen Coker grabbing some balls that we haven't seen him do all season. So those guys, and the tight ends, all three of the tight ends coming up with key catches, none bigger, and of course, than Tommy Tremble's in the OT. But everybody, the way they were able to contribute, and when you saw them starting to get those chunk plays, and Rico, the ground game pretty much got shut down again yesterday, but Rico with the yards that he got on those catches, and I thought he had that touchdown there late in the game to ice it. But, it was just incredible performance by everybody. But the big plays, when those started finally working for this team yesterday, I thought that they were going to knock it out in regulation and not have to worry about going to overtime.
All right, Sharon Thorsland, you can find her on X at Sharon A Sports. 22 seasons now with Panthers Radio, so probably better than most of the players, Sharon, what sweeping the Falcons means to a Carolina Panthers fan base. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're going to the Super Bowl that year or you're missing the playoffs big time that year. Like, what does a sweep of Atlanta mean? It hasn't happened here in 12 years.
Oh my gosh, this is only the third time it's happened in Panthers history. I didn't realize that number. I had to go back and look at the stats. I'm like, really? We've only swept them that many times? That's just something that doesn't happen very often. It's hard to beat the same team twice in 1 year, especially in your division. And it is a huge rivalry. Maybe in recent years it hasn't felt like one so much because neither team has had a lot of success. But in talking to a lot of the guys this week leading up to the game, Ike Ekwonu was talking about what a big deal it was to play the Falcons because he grew up with some of the big rivalries.
Oh, yeah.
And, when Cam Newton and we were down there undefeated and they beat us there in the Super Bowl run. So it's a huge deal to beat the Falcons twice in one season. It just doesn't happen very often at all. So fans need to really relish this and enjoy this to be able to do that. Now it's been 3 in a row now, and Bryce Young seems to have made the Mercedes-Benz Dome his personal happy place because he has had some incredible games. His past 2 games there have been absolutely incredible.
I was going to say, if I were Coach Canales, I would just try to sneak the Falcons logo on the 49ers helmets next Monday night, because that seems to do something. I guess it's by nature of every team that hovers around 500, we have trouble figuring out who they are, right? Because that's a 500 team. They're a game above 500 now. Do you have any sense of who this team is, especially as it enters this final gauntlet, really, of 6 games to close the season?
I think that we're starting to see more of their personality come out. Clearly, they want to be a running team. They want to run the football, and that is their MO. They want to be a tough, physical team that runs the football, and that's worked for a lot of games for them this season behind Rico Dowdle, and then clearly Chuba Hubbard obviously are in the mix too. He came on a lot stronger yesterday than we've seen him in the past few weeks, but when you can't run, and they found that out last week against the Saints, it's like, okay, now what do we do? They had to figure that out, and they clearly figured it out in a big way yesterday. So I think that this is a tough, physical team. They want to run, but they found ways to win with the passing game. They found ways to win with special teams. They found ways to win with, just a shutout like they did with the Falcons earlier this year. So they found a way to win in just about every capacity now this season, with the big comebacks against the Dolphins. So they've been able to grind out wins in many different forms. So I think they're still growing as a team. I think they're still trying to really ice that identity and become like, you want to be a ground and pound kind of team like the Ravens or something like that. I think that's where they would like to get, but maybe not quite there yet, because there's a lot of young guys on the team. This is only year 3, for Bryce Young. He's got so much, his ceiling is so high, I think we've seen now after that performance yesterday. So that's what I would say the identity of this team is right now, though, and a very resilient bunch. We've seen them bounce back. After some big losses, they've been able to bounce back and turn out some incredible performances like they did at Lambeau a couple weeks ago and then yesterday in Atlanta. So I think that they're still working towards who they want to become, but I think we're starting to see more and more of pieces of what they want to be.
All right, we're going to wrap up this first segment with Sharon Thorsland. Great stuff. And I want to get into the next segment. We want to talk about belief and the belief that this team has, because Dave Canales has asked his players to believe, and they're in the hunt in mid-November. Can they be in the hunt in mid-December? More with Sharon Thorsland talking Panthers coming up. Back here on Panthers on the Plus, talking about the remarkable Panthers comeback and victory to sweep the Falcons in overtime on Sunday afternoon. And we are speaking with Panthers radio sideline reporter Sharon Thorsland. Sharon, I teased it at the end of the first segment. This team now gets to kind of figure out if it can be that playoff contender. And it is one thing to be in the hunt on that graphic in November as opposed to December. It's almost like the schedule set up for like, okay, you passed that test. You beat the Cowboys. You beat the Dolphins. Should have beat the Saints, but didn't. You swept the Falcons. Now it's like a different league. Now you got to basically play the bulk of the NFC West, and those 3 teams are really tough, plus the Bucs twice. What is it going to take for this team to kind of take that next step these last 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's doing things consistently, and I think Dave Canales would be the first one to tell you that. They've been able to put together these great performances, like we were saying in the prior segment, going to Lambeau and beating the Packers and beating Atlanta the way they did, and they've had some really solid wins. Now they need to be able to do that 2 times in a row. I mean, that's what's been the tough thing for this team. They've got the great performance, and they followed up with like a loss to the Saints or the loss to the Bills. They need to be able to start stacking wins now and stacking those kind of performances and executing consistently, play in and play out, game in and game out, and not having to go back and say, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that, we could have done this. That's the key for this team, is to be able to start playing consistently at that level if you want to beat a team like San Francisco on the road. I mean, that's quite a difficult challenge, as we know, to go out there. And then you've got the Rams at home. At least it's at home, but the Rams are playing about as well as anybody right now. You've got the Seahawks coming to town with Sam Darnold, and of course Baker Mayfield has made no bones about that little chip he's got on his shoulder about the Panthers, spouting off a little earlier this season about Steve Wilkes and the Panthers letting him go and stuff. So you know that he's got revenge on his mind when it comes to this team. So you've got an incredibly difficult schedule in the final stretch with the Saints, which is clearly they already beat us here in Carolina, and to go on the road at New Orleans is no easy place to play. So they've got a really difficult schedule ahead to lead them into what hopefully could be a run to the playoffs. So they need to be able to consistently do what they did in Atlanta on Sunday. They need to be able to do consistently what they went on the road and did at Lambeau, at the Jets. They need to be able to do that and not have these lapses where they make mental errors and other mistakes. So if they can start doing that, they've got a really good chance to escape with wins in several of these matchups, I think.
Well, consistency also key for their quarterback in Bryce Young. And besides, ho-hum, beating Cam Newton's single-game franchise record with 448 passing yards, Bryce Young, Sharon, became the 5th player in NFL history under the age of 25 with 30 or more completions, 425 or more passing yards, 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions in one game. That list includes Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, C.J. Stroud, and Drew Bledsoe. It's good company. It just shows that he's capable of keeping that good company, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen great Bryce Young moments for 3 seasons, really. I mean, we saw the end of last season when he was just on that continuous roll. And then when he started this season, it's like, okay, where'd that Bryce go? And then here he came again. So he clearly can do it. And things have to work in tandem for him to be able to do it. He's got to have his receivers working. He's got to have the blocking up front, which we haven't touched on the offensive line and what they've done this season, what they did yesterday. But Bryce has, I think, a huge ceiling. We were talking about that earlier in Panther Talk, Anish Shroff and Jim Zoki and I, that so many people want to just, write the story on Bryce Young. Oh, yeah, we've seen enough of him. Move on. Let's get the next guy. Or, oh, no, Bryce is going to be the next great thing. He's still only 24 years old. This is only his 3rd season in the league. He came in, when you're the number 1 pick and all these other guys that have been in similar scenarios to him, like a Sam Darnold, like a Baker Mayfield, guys like that, you get into a situation that's not the best setup for a top 5 pick. It's a team that's struggling. That's why you're there. And so things are not necessarily in place for you to grow and develop, like, say, a Jordan Love got to do up in Green Bay. He had the perfect scenario to sit and learn behind Aaron Rodgers, and then bam, he goes in and he has instant success. It's not like that with these other guys, and like a Bryce Young. It's C.J. Stroud was sort of the anomaly last year, where things or 2 years ago, that really was stacked well for him. But that doesn't happen very often, and so I think Bryce Young has had to hear a lot of critics early in his career because he hasn't done what people think he should do as the number 1 overall pick. But now you're starting to see more of the product of him being in this system for 3 years, being able to be in year 2 of Dave Canales' offensive system, getting his receivers healthy, getting some more playmakers on this team. You get a Tedero McMillan in there now who's doing a tremendous job. So I think he's starting to grow and starting to develop. He's getting way more confidence. You could see the confidence in him yesterday, really, as the game went on. I mean, you can see it. You can feel it from him. So I think that Bryce has got a very high ceiling, and we're just beginning to see, I think, how good he can be. We've seen glimpses, but now, if he can start consistently stacking those kind of things, I don't think we'll be having this conversation about who our franchise quarterback is anymore.
And I think outside Carolina, look, there's, talk of, is he a leader? Can he rally the troops? I mean, you were on the sideline when he gets that ankle stepped on again and he leaves the field, and then he comes back and he didn't miss a snap. Can you just take us through what it felt like when he left and what you saw when he came back out there?
When he went down, it was like the collective air just went out of this team. I mean, you could see guys were just like, oh my gosh. I mean, they love Bryce, and he is their leader, and they were all down on one knee. Guys were just, you could see just the extreme concern in their faces. And he looked to be in an extreme amount of pain out there as well. And I was like, oh boy, this isn't good. And then when he was able to walk off the field, just coming off, without limping hardly at all, I was like, okay, we're good. And then they started to bring the cart, and he was like, no, I don't want any part of that cart. And the cart literally followed him all the way to the locker room. You
got to take it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, he just refused to get on it. And then so Andy Dalton was warming up, and guys were like, all right, we can rally. Austin Corbett was telling guys down on the offensive side, all right, we got this. Andy's our guy. We can do this. Let's get back out there. And then all of a sudden, here comes Bryce out of nowhere again with that ankle taped up, started jumping up and down on the sidelines, and then started throwing the ball. And guys were like, Bryce is back. Bryce is back. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh, there he is. And the fact that he was able to come back out like that, not miss a snap, and I mean, it was just was just like this burst of energy that came back out with him, and the excitement that guys saw him back out there again. It's like, all right, here we go. We're going to pick up where we left off, and they did just that. So, I mean, kudos to Bryce to be able to do that. And then he got stepped on again, late in the game when Chandler Zavala sort of rolled over on him late, and then I thought that he was going to be gone again, but he just kept gutting it out with that ankle and just making plays and using the ankle and stepping on it in spite of, it had to hurt. He was limping big time after the game yesterday, but the way he was able to gut that out, and the guys were just behind him, and there's no question that he's a leader in that locker room. Absolutely not.
Yeah, you just touched on it there, and this team has the benefit, Bryce has the benefit of one extra day and a flight across country to prepare for San Francisco. I mean, did he look pretty hobbled after that game? He didn't show a lot of signs in the second half and overtime.
He was walking remarkably well during the game. I think it was the adrenaline and everything like that. But then, I mean, after the game, he was hobbling substantially, trying to get to the podium after the game. Getting onto the team plane, I didn't notice him limping too bad. So I'm hoping that they obviously wouldn't have let him go back out there if there was anything structurally wrong. But when they brought him back in, I'm sure they had the X-rays and everything like that. So they taped him up. They wouldn't have put him back out there if there was any risk of him damaging it further. So hopefully it's just another aggravation of that initial ankle. They're going to be treating the heck out of it. Guys, we're all in the building today. They'll be back again tomorrow. They're off Wednesday this week. They've got a different schedule because of the Monday night game. So he gets that extra day and an all-day Monday as opposed to having to play like a 1 o'clock on Sunday. So you get some extra time, and hopefully he'll be able to come back. Coach Canales said today that he will have an update for us on Thursday. So I hopefully it'll be good news, but it seems like he's at least got the extra time, and he was not in a boot or anything like that, which is great news.
Great point. All right, about 1 minute left. We got to talk about the defense. I mean, it just seems like a couple times this year, if they struggle in the first half to contain certain players, they fix it in the second half. And despite some depth issues and guys out, what did you see from Ejiro Evero's unit in that second half and overtime, giving up just 6 points?
They came out with just on a mission in the second half. They were really ticked off at themselves for the tackling in the first half. That was something that Ejiro, he's not much of a yeller. He doesn't say a whole lot on the sidelines, but when he does, guys listen to him. And they were big time talking about the tackling and cleaning up the tackling and getting everybody to the ball because, like we said, it was Bijan Robinson and Drake London that were just having a day in the first half, and they just could not stop them. And they said it was just really just the tackle. So in the second half, they just had this look in their eye that they were going to get the stop. It was just like willpower. And Evero came over right when they started the second half and said, he told guys, the ball carriers are not holding on to the football. They're letting it dangle out. Get in there, try to punch the ball, get the ball out, and go for the ball, attack the ball. And then literally the next play on special teams, we get the fumble, us force the fumble and get the ball back. So they just they really just tightened up in the second half, and it became like much more of an individual do your job kind of thing. And that's a lot of things that they preach on the sidelines. And generally, Derek Brown will be the first one to tell you when things go wrong for them, it's generally because of a missed assignment or a lack of somebody doing what they're supposed to do. And so they just cleaned up the effort, got everybody rallied to the ball, and really rallied to Drake London and Bijan, and were able to really put the clamps on them in the second half.
All right, a couple more minutes with Sharon Thorsland, Panthers sideline reporter, coming up as we turn our attention towards San Francisco and our old friend Christian McCaffrey. Stick around. Back here finishing our conversation about Carolina's big win over Atlanta with Panthers radio sideline reporter and WBT sports reporter Sharon Thorsland. Unique perspective, Sharon, being on the sidelines, also covering the Panthers for the bulk of their existence here in Carolina. I've been here for 10 years, and it's almost like every time something good starts to happen, there's a faction of the fan base that goes, see, that's just like 2015. But I think we can all agree 6-5 isn't the 2015 Panthers. Is there a team is there a team that you've covered here in Carolina that this team is starting to kind of give a hint of?
There have been obviously so many different types of teams, but this one, in the way that they're evolving and the way that they're developing, sort of reminds me a little bit of the year, I know this sounds sort of strange, but when Matt Rule got fired and Steve Wilkes took over this team, and they were just floundering and didn't, have any sense of direction or anything, he got them just playing Panther football again. And they just evolved into this attacking run game, just pound it down your throat kind of thing. And they got that swagger back, and that confidence, and that fierce physical defense. And, they were just rolling by the end of the season. We're actually in the mix for the playoffs. And I think, won 4 of the last 6 games. So they were just dominant and just destroyed the Lions and beat them, to a pulp with the run game.
Yep.
And this team, I feel like, is starting to get that kind of traction. They've bought into, clearly, Dave Canales' culture and his system and his whole process, which they talk about all the time. And they're beginning to get that identity, I think, where they know what they want to be, and they're slowly starting to get there. And they want to be this running team, and that's a very physical defense. And it just feels like they're starting to find themselves like that team did under Steve Wilkes at the end of the season. That's probably one that sticks out to me, that they seem sort of similar like that. Obviously a different maybe type of quarterback situation and stuff, because I don't even remember who our quarterback was.
It was Baker Mayfield, and then it was Sam Darnold. Was somebody else? PJ Walker.
By then. I think at the 11, I think it was PJ and then. But so clearly not the same scenario with Bryce, but it was that tough work mentality and that buy-in and that culture. That's what I see more than anything else. Is like, this is Panther football, and I feel like we're getting to that again.
And this team is doing it with the same head coach that it started the year with. That's the difference. But Dave Canales last year and maybe again this year is finding a way to give his team that direction late in the season. What are the biggest kind of growth areas you've seen in year 2 of the Dave Canales coaching era?
Well, I think it has to be this offense, the way the offense is starting to evolve and develop. You got the run game really going last year with Chuba, and everything just sort of started falling into place late in the season last year. But now bringing in Tedero McMillan, the development of Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, being the surprise he was last year. Now he's healthy again. And Rico Dowdle was just a tremendous addition, clearly, to this offense. So I feel like the offense is starting to click in the way that Dave Canales wants it to. The defense, I feel like, had a leg up on them last year. And I know that the numbers didn't really particularly show that. But with the Giro Vera the year before that, they had been so good. So I think that just as a team, they're starting to develop this personality and this culture and this buy-in and this whole belief in themselves and in each other. And he always says, I want this to be your team. He tells the guys, I want it to be your team. I want you to own this team. And I feel like they've done that a lot. But I do feel like that Canales has really grown this offense tremendously, and just shaping the team into what he wants it to be and his vision of what he wants this team to be. I feel like they're really starting to each week get more and more where he wants them to be, and they're still not there, but they're on the way. So I think just his development of this offense, not just Bryce Young, because I know that's one of the main reasons he was brought here, but his development of this offense and just the team as a whole, but the offense in particular, and getting the tight ends involved the way they have, and just getting everything rolling like that, I think that's one area of growth I've seen a lot of.
2 more minutes here, Sharon, as we finish, and I turn our attention to San Francisco. The big storyline here in Charlotte all week is going to be seeing Christian McCaffrey again. It was probably the right move in 2022 to trade him to the 49ers. He has flourished there. Things are hopefully getting back on track here. He just seems like the one that got away. He was a star player who was beloved in the community and the fan base. What are your recollections of covering CMC in his time in Carolina?
Oh, gosh. He was just fabulous from day one, because, he can do it all. Just like he's doing in San Francisco, leading rusher, leading receiver. He can just do everything offensively. And then he was like, this golden boy. He was always just so polite, so nice in the media, so well-spoken, never turned down an interview. He was just such a pleasure to cover from a media standpoint. And then he was able to back it up and just do absolutely everything on the football field, too. And I know he did not want to leave here. He did not want to get traded. And so it does. It feels like the one that got away. You hate to have to part with a guy like that, because he was just such a tremendous value to any offense. And it stinks that he's out there now and not here with us still. But, good for him. He's having a fabulous career out there, and it seems like it ended up being a really good move for him. But, you still have that what if. But he was just phenomenal to cover. I loved every minute of having Christian here.
All right, real quick, Sharon, about 30 seconds. Just thoughts on the Panthers actually getting the primetime stage for once on a Monday night this week. Yeah.
It's funny. We're like, when was the last time? It was only a couple of years ago. It was Bryce Young's first year that they played the Monday night game here at home against New Orleans. And that didn't end well for the Panthers, clearly. So, and this is huge. I mean, what's really fun about it is that it matters. I mean, if the Bucs lose on Sunday, the Panthers win, then all of a sudden you're in the driver's seat in the NFC South. So it's not just a Monday night game against a former player of yours, San Francisco. It has a lot on the line. It's meaningful, and that's what makes it even more fun.
All right, Sharon Thorslin, Panthers radio sideline reporter, WVT Radio. Thank you so much for joining us, giving your insight, being down on that sidelines. I'm always jealous of we don't all get to go down there, but you do a great job painting the picture of what they're saying, what's happening. So thanks for joining us on Panthers on the Plus.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed it.